Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 327, and I had a conversation with Marcela. Marcela was born in Colombia and began touring the world as a performing artist and musician at a young age. She speaks several languages and is a medical interpreter as well as a music and voice teacher. She's about to have her second baby, and she's been dealing with something called, let's see if I get this right, Hyperemesis Graviadarum. It's basically, if you followed along with the Kate Middleton pregnancy, it's what she had. It's extreme morning sickness, which afflicted her with her first pregnancy as well. Marcela's first pregnancy was also, she was quite ill for that. And we discuss growing up fast, how she's dealt with her pregnancies, especially given that she uses her voice for her work. And if you're throwing up all the time, it's pretty hard on the old vocal cords. We talk about what she did for love and a whole lot more. So it's a fun episode, and she's just the sweetest human being. I've seen her perform a handful of times in Nashville, and she's an excellent musician and singer. And I'm looking forward to you hearing this episode. If you're looking for more episodes, older episodes of Hey Human, and can't find them on your apps that only hold 300 episodes at a time, you can go to blurby.com/heyhuman with Susan Ruth. That's BLUBRRY, if anybody's wondering how to spell blurby. There you'll find all the episodes from the very beginning. You can also visit heyhumanpodcast.com, of course, and click episode links on either the podcast section or the humans section of the site. Either way, you will find links to the episodes. In other news, please check out heyhumanpodcast.com for links to learn more about my guests and the show, susanruth.com to learn more about me, and please follow Susan Ruthism and Hey Human Podcast on social media. Also, please check out my new relationships and sex show, Are We There Yet?, with sexologist and healthcare practitioner Mara Edelman. She's a good friend of mine, and we started the show. It's on YouTube. You can find it at youtube.com/Are We There Yet podcast show. If you want to email me about anything, then please do so, susan@heyhumanpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. Be well. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. And wherever you are, I'm sending you love. All right. Here we go. Hi, Marcela. Welcome to Hey Human.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. You are in Nashville right now?
In Nashville, yes. Nashville, Tennessee.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colombia, in Bogota. I was there until I was about 15.
Being 15, I imagine you have a ton of memories from childhood.
Yes. It's a very big, crazy, eclectic city. It has now it's like almost 10 million people. So it's like a big concrete jungle. And I grew up like that. That's where all I knew, city life. When I started traveling, especially in Asia, because it was even more remote, the concept of Colombia. And they will ask me things like that, like if we still use horses for transportation sometimes, or things like that. And I'm sure that happens in Colombia. But to me, it was like, no, not in Bogota. And it's very interesting that I guess the movies play a part on that too, maybe.
Sure. And of course, the other stereotype is that, especially Bogota, is filled with mobsters and cocaine dealers and gun runners. Did you experience that to be a cliche that people put on you?
Yes, absolutely. Especially when we started traveling in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s. People look at my passport and sometimes you're like, oh, Colombia. Or a little, I don't know, an eye, I forgot.
An eye roll.
An eyebrow, yeah, exactly. Or
a lift of the eyebrow, a suspicion.
Yeah, there was one time actually I was studying. I was going to say where, but then it doesn't matter. In a university, in a college, somewhere in a country in the world. And a person asked me, my classmate asked me if I had some cocaine in my bag because I was from Colombia, and he thought it was a funny thing to say. And I don't know why I got so angry that time. I mean, some people have made some remarks before, but I got very angry, and I just started yelling. And it was a bar, like a place, for college students. And I just started like, he's looking for cocaine, anyone. If any one of you can help him. And he was so embarrassed. He was like, because, I mean, you need to know. Sometimes you just have to think before you talk. And
yeah, for sure. Tell me about childhood. What did you do as a kid? What do you have siblings? Did you have a close family?
I do. Well, my dad remarried. So I'm an only child from the marriage. And they came later. So I didn't really grow up with siblings. I grew up kind of like with an only child, but I was very close to my cousins because my mom's family, they are so close that we used to spend like a lot of time together. Like a lot, like almost like every day we would be together. And so I grew up with them.
That's the best of both worlds. You don't have to share your own toys, but you still get pseudo siblings to play with.
Exactly.
What made your family come to America then at 15?
My family didn't come to America. They are all still in Colombia. So I moved here actually from Singapore. And that was in 2009. But
at 15?
No, I didn't come here when I was 15. So when I was 15, I started touring internationally. So that's what until I remember I grew up and lived in Bogota. After that, I went back and forth, but I was never like officially, maybe in my heart, I was already like traveling the world. I was not like living there. I always wanted to travel. It was something. And it's funny, I'm the only one in my family that ended up like that. They all like it there. They live in Colombia.
Was the traveling for music?
For music, yes. Singing.
Were you always a singer?
I think I was always a singer. Since I can remember, I always liked to sing. And when I was 5, I remember performing for the first time with a band at school. I was very annoying. I remember that too. I thought it was cool, but now that I think about it, I was very annoying and I insist so much, and they finally let me be part of the band.
You bugged them.
Very young. You were supposed to apply like for a certain grade, but I was only 5. I was not even in first grade yet. But I loved it, and I just kept going and going, and they let me be part of it. And that was my first performance.
I love that you harassed them into letting you perform.
I think it's so funny that I never saw it that way, but now that I look back, I definitely did.
How did that shape you as a young person to travel all over the world like that?
I think it taught me that life was so much more than what I could have ever imagined, and that made me question everything. Because it was like, there are so many different people and they live very differently. What I think is right, they think is wrong. And I mean, so many things. And I remember at the beginning, I noticed the differences a lot, like how we ate different, like they ate spicy food. It was challenging for me. They spoke a different language that I didn't speak. And I saw that, but at one point, and I think that happened when I was in China, it took me a few years. But then I saw that we were like so similar at the same time. I remember I was eating and there was this gentleman that came and joined his family at the restaurant. And it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 p.m. And I just started playing this story in my head. Like he had just come from work. His kids are there. They probably hate Mondays too. Like they have the same, And I realized that we were all so similar. And so that definitely changed me. Although going through all that definitely make me, I don't know, see the world very different.
Do you think it made you grow up faster or too quickly even?
Yes and yes. But yeah, no, and maybe not just the traveling, but music. Music, like, to be touring all the time. I was going to bed at like, I don't know, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And I mean, I was praying in like concerts. It was not like bars. Like it was all like, a very nice setup for a teenager. Like I don't want to do because I'm like, she was going to, but it's still, I mean, is the music business, is the arts, and it happens at night when you perform and then you want to go eat and you're with your friends. And I think that first of all made me like mature sooner. Like I remember going to high school and my classmates were completely in a different group and they were asking for like permission to go out for a show or like things like that. They have no money, and I was already working, like touring. It was different. It definitely And then traveling too, you realize that you need to really kind of like take care of yourself and keep it together and think about your steps carefully, because you're in a different country, and it learns you to be more teaches you to be more respectful. And
did you have a guardian that would tour with you, or did one of your parents go with you?
I had a guardian. It was not officially my guardian, but when I started touring, because when I was like 16. So at 14, I started singing like professionally all the time. Then when I was 16 was when the first trip came up. And I had already been with the band for 2 years, and they were all a lot older than I was. Like the band leader was about maybe 12 or 13 years older, because I was really young, right? They were like some in their 30s and stuff. So my mom trusted them so much, and they were amazing. I mean, we had already been playing together for 2 years. So when the trip came about, they were like, oh, well, we'll take care of her. And my mom said yes, but I think it was also kind of like the situation when I was 5. I think I harassed my mom until she said yes. I remember I did a PowerPoint presentation, and I told her why she needed to let me go to this tour in Malaysia, which was like the other side of the world. Like, it couldn't have been Miami. No, it was like all the way. But that's, that was like what we brought, I guess, the synchronicity, and that's how we started touring.
How many countries have you performed in at this point?
I'll have to count. Honestly, I don't know. I know that I have lived in like about 8 countries, but performed, many.
All over the world.
All over the world. Well, I haven't been to Australia yet.
You haven't been to Australia?
No, which I regret, because I used to live in Asia and it was relatively close, and now it seems so far away. I should have.
You should have. You still can, though. You still can.
Yes, you're right. I still can.
Of some of the countries that you've been to, are there any particular places that really stand out, or people that really stand out for you?
Yes, I was just trying to say, because that's always difficult to like choose one, because the world is just so big, but there are places where you feel like you, or for me, like that you like kind of belong there, and those places for some reason they have a special place in my heart, and that happened. That has happened a few times, like in Singapore, for example. To me, Singapore is like my second home. Like, I just felt so, I don't know, and with the people I was working, and it was when I started doing jazz. I have these fond memories of sharing music. I loved how they are it's like a melting pot. They're like people from all over the world, and then people speak different languages. They even have 4 official languages. And that was really cool, just to get to see that, how we celebrate the Diwali, but we celebrate Chinese New Year, we celebrate Hari Raya, and we all live together. I lived there for 3 years, and it was really cool.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak, in that order, like Spanish, English, Mandarin, Portuguese. Probably my Portuguese now is better than my Mandarin, because I use it more than, so probably Portuguese, Mandarin, and a little Malay, which is what they speak in Malaysia and in Indonesia. But that one, I don't know how good it is. I haven't used it in 15, 20 years. I don't know.
It would probably come back to you if you were there, though.
Probably if I was there. I tell people, like, I'm really not very smart for languages, but if you're in a place and you need to survive, like you need to eat or go to a doctor, you learn it. You just have to, like a kid. And that's why I learned Mandarin, because nobody spoke, and it was so challenging. And I remember I got food poisoning, and after that, I signed up at the Chinese school. I need to learn this, because it was challenging. I was touring, and it was just hard. That, by the way, that food poisoning, I think it happened in China.
Oh, that can happen anywhere.
I was like,
when I lived in Tennessee, the first year I lived there, I got food poisoning 5 times easily. I mean, it was crazy. I'm curious, having traveled all over the world, what's one of the most interesting things you've ever eaten? That would be a local dish to wherever you were.
Oh, so there have been some things on my plate that I haven't eaten, like a scorpio that I just couldn't, and that happened in China, and I was like, no. But there was one thing I ate, and I didn't know what it was, and it's probably one of the strangest things that I've eaten. So in my the first trip, I went to Kuala Lumpur, to Malaysia, and we went out for dinner. And again, the food was spicy, like I didn't know what it was. So we were eating, and there were like different dishes on the table. You know, the Chinese use a lot the lazy Susan, and you just kind of take a little bit.
I take offense to that.
I know. Why couldn't it be a lazy daisy or something?
Could have been anybody.
I know, right? We will work on that. And there was this dish that was like eggs with tomato, and it looked familiar, like an omelette kind of thing. And we were all eating. It was just not me. It was especially the other vocalist. It was two of us, two girls, and the drummer. And we were really like, with rice. But we never thought about asking what it was. And it had frog insides with the eggs. It was delicious. But then that taught me to always ask and know, and like, okay, I'm not in Kansas City anymore. Like, I'm not in Colombia anymore. I have to check. I haven't, like, I don't know.
Although frog tastes a lot like chicken.
It was like chicken.
Yeah.
It was like and it was almost like veggies. It almost looked like mushrooms, actually, like chopped mushrooms. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I wanted to go back for a second to the previous question that you asked me, because I thought it's just so hard. Like, Singapore was my second home, but I think that there are two places where I eventually want to leave, and because they're just, are so special. And one is Bali, where I have spent a lot of time, like Bali.
Yeah.
And one is Puerto Rico. We visited last year, and I just felt that I was like from there for some reason. And it was funny. Actually, my husband was freaking out because I was driving, and after a little while, I was not using the GPS, and he was like, "Well, now you're freaking me out," because he was like, "I just been there." So I think that's there are so many beautiful places. I wish I had like more time and more money to just travel more.
Yeah, to be a global citizen is an extraordinary gift.
Yes.
Yeah. What brought you to the United States?
Love. My first husband he's from here. He's from Memphis. So after being married for like 2 years, I think, we decided to come here to be closer to our families. Because we were living in Singapore. We met in China, and we got married in Singapore. And it was great. Like, I was having the time of my life. But then my dad got sick, and I remember getting that phone call and being like, he needs surgery, and if you can come before the surgery, you should. But you're on the other side of the world. There is not come now kind of thing. It takes so much to be like finding the ticket and the connections and the blah, blah, blah. So I got home. After surgery, everything went well, but it makes you think about that.
The distance.
So,
yeah,
the distance, that you're really on the other side of the world in an island. If something happened, and God forbid if something serious happened, that's it. Like, you're there. And we decided to come to the States because of that. And we moved to Memphis, from Singapore to Memphis.
And then what brought you to Nashville?
Also because of him. Well, it's funny. Now I think it was music. Like, now I think it was what I do that was kind of like slowly bringing me here. But it really was because he got a job. We were living in Memphis. He got a job with the Nature Conservancy. But I was already starting to work with a musician, with a bass player. His name is Victor Wooten, and we had already written a song, and we had done a little touring together. So when he asked me, "Do you want to go to Nashville?" I'm like, "Yes, I want to go to Nashville." And that was pretty crazy. I was sold.
Hey, you said first husband. So was that something that didn't work out?
So you know what is funny? We were so different, and we're still good friends. We divorced in the best terms. Like, I never thought you could get divorced like that. I remember we were holding hands, and then we went to sign the papers, and the judge asked us like 2 times, like, "Are you sure you want to, like, should I grant these?" We were like so short. We were very different. And he wanted to be in the mountains, and I liked the city. I wanted to do shows. And we just realized that we started having like this Like we were very happy, but not when we were with each other. I was happy when I was touring, and he was happy when he was on a fishing trip, camping for 3 days. So we decided to give each other 1 year to live our life, like a sabbatical year, to see how we felt without the other, because we were in love. We didn't want to let the other go either. It was funny, actually, now that I think about it. And I moved to Hawaii. He moved to Chattanooga. See, he didn't like the beach either. And we decided that it was for the best, and, very friendly. We parted ways.
And then how did you meet your new husband?
I met my new husband through music. Actually, I met him when I was still married, actually. But there was nothing. We became like, well, he told me he liked me since he told me. But I remember we were just friends for like a year and a half. We played music. One of my best friends here in Nashville, we played music since I moved to the city together. We played music together since I moved here. And he told me, there is this mandolin player, and I think that you guys should jam. I think he will like your music. You'll be great. And he keeps saying. And one day he came to the house, and my friend was like, come and jam with us. And I did. And we just did really good music together. Then he joined my band, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months later. And that's how we became friends. I remember we became good friends. And much later, I told him one time, I said, I think I'm ready to start dating after my divorce. And I was like, there's this guy, he asked me out, blah, blah, blah. I left his house, and then he texted me and said, like, I don't know why, but I'm jealous.
Aww.
Why is not me that asked you to a date? Like, I never thought about it. And I never thought about him. I remember I had to stop the car, be like, what is happening? and yeah, we just kind of started moving from there. I remember I fought a lot at the beginning. I felt like, I don't know, we played together. What if we messed up our friendship? But it worked out.
And you've had a couple babies, yes? I know you're pregnant now. Is that number 2 or number 3?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah, there's a baby boy that we're expecting now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have a daughter, and she's going to be 3 next month in August.
Oh, that's a handful.
Yes.
And how's the pregnancy treating you?
It's a little hard. I suffer from something called Hyperemesis Graviadarum, which is a genetic condition. They've been doing more and more studies recently because Kate Middleton, she suffers from that. And every pregnancy, she ended up in the hospital. So it's basically a condition where you suffer from severe nausea and vomiting. And it's like, when I say severe, it can be 20 times a day, like something crazy. It's just, and it happens to like 0.002% of women. They, at the beginning, they didn't know why, or like they just ask you to eat crackers. And so slowly they were like, oh, it's these 2 genes that create the placenta. And then it happens to certain people. So thank goodness now is more awareness. So that being said, this pregnancy has been better than the one with my daughter. So I try to like tell myself that every day, but it's still a challenge. Like sometimes it just hits me out of nowhere, and it's just challenging.
How do you keep your nutrients up for the baby and for yourself? And also, when you vomit, having done that lots of times in my life, I know what a violent body reaction you have. How do you keep the baby safe when that's happening?
With a lot of effort. Now that I feel that in my first pregnancy, I got a PhD on nausea and vomiting. Like I even found a way to do that without the movement. Like just kind of, I know this is probably disgusting, but maybe it serves a purpose to someone. If you're going through that, please ask for help. And I hope that what I'm about to share serves you. So I learned that sometimes you can just use your whole body. It's like you let it, or you can control it. Like you can use just the spasm when you throw up, and then you let it come out. And that is easier on your throat and everything. I had to find a way to take care of my throat because as a vocalist, has just been a nightmare. It's like horrible. So I have to be like, how can my throat will bleed because I will do it so many times. And
all that stomach acid. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. So that has been a big thing, finding the right medication too. There are medications for nausea that are safe while you're pregnant. So finding that and kind of staying very vigilant, taking the medication, not letting it like kind of take a momentum, because the nausea sometimes comes, you can throw up like 3 times in 10 minutes, and then after that it's just going downhill and it's hard to come out by yourself. You'll end up like in the ER or something. So that has been one, drinking a lot of fluids. And you asked me about nutrition. This time around, I learned about something called Juice Plus, which is like a dense nutrition in capsules. It's pure veggies and it's no vitamins, but pure veggies and fruits. And you can take them. You can like open it and have it in the like a apple sauce if you want, or juice. But it's very dense nutrition. So I'm grateful for that, because it's been working. Like my blood work shows that I'm okay, even though I'm throwing up, the blood work is good. And I do feel better comparing to the first pregnancy, which is not always the case. That's a little scary. It's like throwing the dice and being brave and see what happens.
Does it have an effect on the baby at all?
It depends. Yeah, if you don't get treatment, you can even have a miscarriage. Many of these pregnancies end up in miscarriage, or sometimes they have to terminate the pregnancy because your body is just not going to make it as a mom. I mean, I remember my first pregnancy. There was one time I was hospitalized for 10 days and my organs were already failing. Like I was not, and they ask you, like, do you want to continue this? Because you might not make it, like both of you might not make it. Then you just kind of have to do that. So
how did you decide that then, if you were in beginning stages of organ failure?
They have different treatments that they can offer. It's just that they ask you, like, do you want to go through these? Like, you're really hurting yourself. And, and I was only 20 weeks pregnant. And just like, I still have halfway. And so, but they do have options. And I think that having special doctor, people that are aware, because that's it's not a new condition, but the research is new and now they know why and how to treat it. So having people that are willing to like tell you, let's try this, let's do that, come to the hospital anytime you want for fluids. It got to be to that point that they will just see me and without triage, nothing, is like, oh, come here. And they, instead of making you wait, they already know what's going on. And there was one option that was offered to me that was also scary. It was called a PICC line. So they will just put that line and it goes to your aorta and it gives you nutrition. So they completely stop digestion. And that happened for about 5 or 6 days.
Wow.
And that helped me. So I got the nutrients back. So after I was feeling good, and I said, well, let's carry on. And they gave me some steroids and we made it.
For the mothers out there who may be experiencing this, how do you tell the difference between that condition and regular morning sickness? Is there
Yes, you can definitely tell. Like regular morning sickness, you feel it like in the morning or at a time of the day. You might feel queasy, you might throw up a little. This is like really violent. Like you're gonna start vomiting. You can vomit 3 times in an hour. You cannot hold anything down. There is no crackers, there is no ginger, all those things, they don't really work. And you have to end up getting fluids. So if you're not being able to hold anything down, you have to throw up more than 4 or 5 times, there's no reason why to suffer. Sometimes people say like, oh, it's the first trimester, it's very hard. It's not normal to throw up that many times. So always ask, it's better to check. And there are a lot of things that they can do, like different remedies that they can tweak and stuff. So, definitely ask for help.
And when are you due?
I'm due beginning of October, end of September. We'll see. Because
so soon.
It's very soon. Yes.
Does the nausea, does it taper off the illness toward the more pregnant you get, or is it all the way through?
It's like, there are different theories. For some people, it's all the way through. With my daughter, was all the way through. I had a little, like, I don't want to say a break, because there was never a break. There was not one single day that I didn't throw up when I was pregnant with her. It was every day. but there were some weeks that were better, like from week 25 to week 30 something. With this pregnancy, at the beginning was a little challenging, actually closer to, this is another thing that kind of serves as a guidance to see if it's hyperemesis. The hormones that causes morning sickness, they affect you a lot on the first trimester. But this one, as the placenta grows, it also kind of brings more challenge. So for me, the worst has started when I'm like 10 or 11 weeks pregnant. When it's supposed to be, when it's tapering off, the first trimester. For hyperemesis, it kind of gets more intense. So that has been my experience, and other people that have shared. And then towards the end, because the baby is growing, like right now, for example, I feel that the last 2 weeks or so have been a little bit more challenging, maybe the last week, a little bit more challenging. And I don't know if it has to do with that or the heat. You just never know. But
yeah, it's hot in Nashville right now for sure.
It is very hot.
Is it surreal to be carrying a person inside of you like that?
Yes, it is. And sometimes I can't believe it. I mean, I'm 40 now. And at one point I thought, like, I'm not going to have kids. Like, that's just not. So now to think that I'm about to be a mother of 2, and that I have grown humans in my belly. Yeah, it's surreal.
Yeah. Do you have a name already picked out?
No, not yet. We have a few candidates. It's a bit challenging because we want to find a name that goes well in English and in Spanish, and that both grandparents can pronounce, and that it doesn't sound like one way, like in English. Like, for example, Ivan is one name we have thought about. Ivan, but then it's Ivan or Ivan. So we've been like talking about options, but no.
I know an Ivan. He's a great person. So that's a good one. Yeah.
It's a good name. It's very, I like the way it sounds in English, actually. It has like, strong and like very Ivan. It sounds like musical a little.
It is musical. Yeah, I agree. So what's coming up for you? Do you have to take time off, I assume, when you have the baby?
Yes, I do. I really like to breastfeed, and I'm a big advocate of skin time and just having that time. And it's also hard. You don't sleep. So being realistic, it's like you just want to do this for a second. So, but I'm trying to do a few things before the baby comes. I've been working on doing more lessons, like voice lessons. That's something that I'm very passionate about, because I feel that, we've been talking about how the vomiting hurts my throat, but honestly, I feel that without what I know, what I had to learn to take care of my voice as a singer, I probably wouldn't have a voice right now. And that motivates me even more to share. I think that that's something that everybody should know. Even if you're a singer or not, it doesn't matter. We all have voices. We talk so much. We're, exposed. This year I had COVID twice.
Oh, sorry about that.
Right on top of everything. Thank you. And without like taking care of my voice, I don't know where would have ended up. So I want to do more of that, like sharing more with people and getting them to learn how to take care of their voices, how to, use them in a better way that is easier to project, to connect with their breathing and all that. So that's something that I've been working on and want to work on more.
That's great.
And working on my songwriting too. That is something that I have kind of like not forgotten, but I haven't released many new things because I've been working on other stuff. I do a bunch of stuff apart from music, and sometimes the days just go and you're like, oh, wait a minute, right? I'm a musician. I'm supposed to release new music.
What are some of the other things you're doing?
I do interpreting. That's something that I discovered, like my love for languages. I like languages, and I just learned that I like doing conference interpreting, like that simultaneous interpreting, and also medical, like helping people receive, care. And so
that's important, because I think for a lot of people, especially, if an immigrant comes to this country and they need healthcare and they may not have a real grasp of the English language, it's really important to have advocacy and someone that can translate what's being said to them so they can make informed, solid decisions.
Yes, absolutely. It's crucial.
Tell people how they can find you, and especially if there's any pregnant people out there that might have questions for you and might be suffering from this
Absolutely,
as you have.
yes. I will be happy to share. This is something so horrible that I wish on nobody. And if there's anything, I probably should make a list of the things that work for me so I can share. Or if
and I can put links on Hey Human Podcast. So if there's any particular things you want me to share, I'm happy to put those things out there.
Oh, that will be, yes. Okay, let me think about that. Like, but that would be great, because it might help someone.
Yeah.
Or if somebody wants to sing and be like, I really want to learn how to take care of my voice and I want to go and do it with Marcela, then I'll be happy to hear from you.
How can they find you? What's your website?
My website is Marcela, Marcela, just one L, good in Spanish. And my last name is Pinilla, PINILLA.com, marcelapinilla.com. Some of these new passions that I have picked up on for the past few years, and everything that I've learned all these years as a vocalist helped me with my COVID and pregnancy challenges. I want to create this workshop where I heal with people. If anybody is going through something hard, there's going to be a class just for that, like to take care of our voices. And because it's as important as learning technique, right, to stay healthy. So that's one of the things that I want to have in the website, the options for people to just choose exactly what they need and to basically send an invitation next month to walk with me this journey. Like if anybody is going through the same, then we're just going to heal together. We're going to meet. I haven't decided if every day or every other day to keep that continuity. And for a few weeks, we're just going to heal together.
That's
and
great.
Connect with our voices. So
I love that. And I have had the experience of seeing you perform. It's really fun. It's a really fun show and multilingual and exciting and lots of movement and sound, and it's wonderful.
Thank you so much. I love doing music. I'm so happy that I get to do that.
Yeah, that's lovely. Well, thank you, Marcela, for being on this show, and I wish you all the best and for your family as well, and that you stay healthy.
Susan, I really appreciate you having me. This is really cool. I mean, you have had so many amazing people in your podcast. I feel honored. I was like,
thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Be happy. Bye.
Rate, review, follow, and subscribe to Hey Human Podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Bye.